is Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
You know, they say Wednesday is hump day, and then Thursday is quarter to the weekend, and then Friday is officially the weekend. But regardless, welcome to it. This is ZiFM Sport on a Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday, the lockdown edition. From our homes to the comfort of your homes, you'll hear from Barry Manandi, Mike Madoda, Mark Paz, Chris, and Alois Bunjira. My name is Sean Tafirenyika. I'm the producer of ZiFM Sport. I hope you're staying at home and being safe. Now, a few weeks ago, we profiled tennis's Big Four on the men's side. Tonight, it's all about the women. The Z team will feature the greatest women's tennis players of the modern era. You know what to do. The handle is at ZiFM Sport on Facebook and Twitter. Who do you think are the greatest women's tennis players? Do let us know on social media. We will also endeavor to keep you up to speed with what's happening around the world with the local sports news roundup and around the world in 60. We've also got the play of the day in the second half of the show, plus the beautiful game where tackling will be banned, pitches disinfected, and players restricted to groups of 5 when the Premier League starts a first phase of team training. While in La Liga, Frankie de Jong can be pleased with his first season at Barcelona, and this is according to a former Dutch international. So lots to look forward to on tonight's show.
The Power Play on ZiFM Sport. Wacky Wednesday.
Now here's a wacky combination: being classy, being bougie, and being ratchet at the same time. This is Savage by Meg Thee Stallion featuring Beyonce. It's the remix, baby.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
You know, you may wonder who the greatest women's tennis players of all time are. And since the commencement of the Open era in tennis, several women have dominated the scene while creating and smashing records. And tonight, the Z team will feature the greatest women's tennis players. Let's start off with Barry, who will feature the German bombshell Steffi Graf. But first, here's Pause, talking about the indomitable Martina Navratilova.
Being a Wacky Wednesday, we're looking at the greatest women tennis players of the modern era. And I'm going to focus on Martina Navratilova, a player that was exceptional right the way through her career and will certainly go down as one of the greatest of all time. Now, she was born Martina Serbatova on the 18th of October 1956 in Czechoslovakia. Her mother was an accomplished gymnast, tennis player and ski instructor, and when Navratilova was just 4, she was hitting a tennis ball off a concrete wall and started to play tennis regularly at the age of 7, and her mum noticed that there was certainly something in her, and in 1972 at the age of 15, Navratilova won the Czechoslovakia National Tennis Championships. In 73, just age 16, she made her debut on the U.S. Lawn Tennis Association professional tour, but did not turn pro until 1975. Although perhaps most renowned for her mastery of fast, low bouncing grass, as she won so many Wimbledon titles, that being her favorite surface. Her best early showing at majors was on the red clay at the French Open, where she would go on to reach the final on 6 occasions. Now, she was originally from Czechoslovakia. She was stripped of her citizenship when in 1975, at the age of 18, she asked the USA for political asylum and was granted temporary residence. At that time, she was told by the Czechoslovakia Sports Federation that she was becoming too Americanized and she should go back to school and make tennis secondary. She became a U.S. citizen in 1981, and probably that was one of the best decisions that she made, because on the 9th of January 2008, she actually went back and reacquired her Czech citizenship. That was after an illustrious career. She stated that she had not renounced her US citizenship, nor does she plan to do so, and that reclaiming Czech nationality was not politically motivated. But she was a top-class player, and in 2005 actually Tennis Magazine selected her as the greatest female tennis player for the years between 1975 through 2005, and she is considered one of the best female tennis players of all time, and I can certainly agree with that. She was world number one for a total of 332 weeks in singles and a record 237 weeks in doubles, making her the only player in the history of the game to have held the top spot in both singles and doubles for over 200 weeks. She was year-end singles number one seven times, including a record of 5 consecutive years, as well as year-end doubles number one 5 times, including 3 consecutive years during which she held the ranking for their entire year. She was a phenomenal player. She won 18 Grand Slam singles titles, 31 major women's doubles titles, an all-time record, and 10 major mixed doubles titles. Not too many players have had an illustrious career in all formats, being a singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. Martina Navratilova was certainly one of a kind. She reached the Wimbledon singles final 12 times, including for 9 consecutive years from 1982 through 1990, and won the women's singles title at Wimbledon a record 9 times. I mean, you would just, in those early years, even when I was growing up, you would just see every single year the Wimbledon's final will be between Martina Navratilova and that would go on every single year. She her Grand Slam title a distinction she shares only with 2 others. She's the only person to accomplish a career Grand Slam in women's singles and doubles, and the only other 2 being Margaret Court and Doris Hart. She holds the record for the most singles, being 167, and doubles titles 177 in the Open era. Her record as number 1 in singles between 82 and 86 remains the most dominant in professional tennis to date. I don't think that will ever be beaten. Over 5 consecutive seasons, she won 428 out of 442 singles matches, averaging fewer than 3 losses per year to 87 wins for a sustained winning percentage of 96.8%. She holds the best season win-loss record in the Open era, 86-1. That's 98.9% in 1983, and 4 out of the top 6 Open era seasons. She recorded the longest winning streak in the Open era, 74 consecutive matches, as well as 3 out of the 6 longest winning streaks in history. She and Serena Williams are the only Open era players to have won 6 major singles crowns without the loss of a set. Now, in women's doubles, she teamed up with Pam Shriver, and she had one of the most successful partnerships in history and won 109 consecutive matches, including 4 major titles. The doubles Grand Slam in 1984. The pair set an all-time record of 79 singles together. I mean, she ended her career in 2006. You hear her voice now on television as a commentator, as a pundit. In fact, she came out and played at a Wimbledon exhibition match last year at the tournament, and wow, what great tennis she can still play at her age. Certainly, Martina Navratilova will go down as one of the greatest tennis players of all time.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Born Stephanie Graf on the 14th of June 1969 in Mannheim, West Germany, to Heidi Schkalk and car insurance salesman Peter Graf. When she was 9 years old, her family moved to a neighboring town called Brühl. She has a younger brother called Michael. Her father, an aspiring tennis coach, first introduced her to the game, teaching his 3-year-old daughter how to swing a wooden racket in the family's living room. She began practicing on a court at the age of 4 and played in her first tournament at 5. She soon began taking the top prize at junior tournaments with regularity, going on to win the European Championships 12s and 18s in 1982. This is the life and times of the player we know as Steffi Graf, one of the best to ever do it. Now, Steffi Graf played her first professional tournament in October 1982 at Filderstadt in Germany. She lost the first round match 6-4, 6-love to Tracy Austin, a two-time US Open champion and former world number 1 player. In fact, 12 years later, she would go on to meet Austin again, and she bageled her 6-love, 6-love during a second-round match at the Everett Cup in Indian Wells, California. That was their second and last match against each other. She was ranked world number 1 for a record 377 weeks and won 22 Grand Slam singles titles in her career, which ranks her second since the introduction of the Open era in 1968, and third all-time behind Margaret Court, who has 24 Grand Slam titles, and Serena Williams with 23. In 1988, she became the only tennis player to achieve the Golden Slam by winning all 4 Grand Slam titles and the Olympic gold medal in the same calendar year. Furthermore, she's the only tennis player to have won each Grand Slam tournament at least 4 times. Graf was ranked world number 1 by the Women's Tennis Association, the WTA, for a record 377 total weeks, the longest period for which any player, male or female, has held the number 1 ranking since the WTA and ATP began issuing rankings. She won 107 singles titles, which ranks her third on the WTA all-time list, after Martina Navratilova with 167 titles and Chris Evert with 157 titles. She and Margaret Court are the only players, male or female, to win 3 Grand Slam tournaments in a calendar year 5 times. Notable features of Graf's game were her versatility across all playing surfaces, footwork and powerful forehand drive. Steffi Graf's athletic ability and aggressive game played from the baseline have been credited with developing the modern style of play that has come to dominate today's game. She won 6 French Open singles titles, that's second to Chris Evert, 7 Wimbledon singles titles, 4 Australian Open titles, and 5 US Open singles titles. She's the only singles player, male or female, to have achieved a Grand Slam since hardcourt was introduced as a surface at the US Open in 1987. Consequently, Steffi Graf's Grand Slam was achieved on grass, clay, and hardcourt, while the previous Grand Slams were decided on only grass and clay. Steffi Graf reached 13 consecutive major singles finals from 1987 French Open through to the 1990 French Open, winning 9 of them. She managed to achieve 13 consecutive major singles finals. Get that. And she won 9 of them. And an astounding player. Steffi Graf retired at the age of 30 in 1999, while she was ranked world number 3. On her retirement, she had this to say: "I have done everything I wanted to do in tennis. I feel I have nothing left to accomplish. The weeks following Wimbledon in 1999 weren't easy for me. I was not having fun anymore. After Wimbledon, for the first time in my career, I didn't feel like going to a tournament. My motivation wasn't what it was in the past." And they say, if you don't enjoy it anymore, that's when you need to leave. In December 1999, Graf was named the greatest female tennis player of the 20th century by a panel of experts assembled by the Associated Press. She married former world number 1 men's tennis player Andre Agassi in October 2001. They have 2 children, and Graf was inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame in 2004. Along with countryman Boris Becker, Graf was considered instrumental in popularizing tennis in Germany, where it has remained a highly popular sport ever since. In her career, she amassed a total prize earnings of $21.8 million. That was a record until Lindsay Davenport surpassed it in January 2008. She was ranked world number 1 for 186 consecutive weeks, and a record total of 377 weeks overall. Steffi Graf, one of the best to ever do it. And the year of her retirement, Billie Jean King had this to say: "Steffi Graf is definitely the greatest women's tennis player of all time."
As we heard from Paz there, Martina Navratilova had an accomplished career. But the only thing missing from her career was that she never completed those 4 Grand Slams in a calendar year. But however, she became the epitome of the serve and volley type of game. She was the complete player. And we heard about all those streaks, that 70 match winning streak that still stands today, and how she holds too many Grand Slam and WTA records to count. She's truly, truly amazing. At the present moment, she's become quite the activist. We now know her for championing equal rights in all measures of society. Barry talked about the German machine, that's Steffi Graf. We heard about all those amazing feats she accomplished as a tennis player, and now she was one of the first women's tennis players to win 4 Grand Slams and Olympic gold medal in a calendar year. That is simply amazing. One of the only criticism leveled against Graf was that at the height of her career, her main rival missed significant time, which was close to 2.5 years because she had an incident. Her main rival at the time was actually Monica Seles, who missed a lot of time after getting stabbed, and people say that this helped keep Steffi Graf at the top of the game because she was missing competition from Monica Seles. But as Barry always says, you can only beat what's in front of you, and we can't take away any of the amazing things that she has accomplished. Now let's keep the interaction going. The handle is at ZiFM Sport on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, we've got updates from the beautiful game around the world in 60, but coming up next, it's a local sports news update on the home front with Mike.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Right, let's give you some local sports news, starting with cricket, where the Lady Chevrons have to wait a bit longer before returning to international cricket after the International Cricket Council yesterday postponed the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup qualifier scheduled for Sri Lanka in July. The tournament is the final qualifying event for the 2021 Women's Cricket World Cup in New Zealand. Zimbabwe are part of the 10 teams which made the round after winning the regional qualifier they hosted in Harare last year. In netball news, after some exceptional performances in the opening matches of the Rainbow Amateur Netball League, Sharon Wanali says life away from the game has not been easy. The league was deferred in its infancy in March in compliance with the government's measures in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The Zimbabwe Defence Forces Queen's player is among the leading goal shooters in the league and had high hopes for this season. She admits it has not been easy adjusting to individual training programs only and misses being on court doing what she knows best. And we wrap it up with news out of the Council Lager Premier Soccer League, which is the top tier of domestic football in Zimbabwe. And news from Bulawayo is that panic has reportedly gripped the Highlanders camp following rumours that free-spending Jishavane Bay side FC Platinum are planning on an audacious bid for promising central defender Andrew Mbeba. The 2019 Council Lager Premier Soccer League Rookie of the Year and Young Warriors skipper was a revelation at Boso under Dutchman Peter de Jong after he broke into the first team from the under-18 team. Mbeba is still contracted to the Bulawayo Giants and has 2 years left on his contract.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Tonight we're talking about the greatest women's tennis players of the modern era, and we've heard about Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova. And no doubt I was saving the best for last. Here's Chris featuring the GOAT, Serena Williams.
When you think women's tennis, no matter where you are, you're going to think Serena Williams. She's won 23 Grand Slam titles, the most by any player in the Open era, and the second most of all time behind Margaret Court. In total, she's been number one for 319 weeks, which ranks as the third in the Open era among female players behind Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova. She holds the most Grand Slam titles in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles combined among active players. She's also won 4 Olympic gold medals, 1 in women's singles and 3 in women's doubles, an all-time record she shares with her sister Venus. Of course, we grew up hearing about her as part of a duo, Venus and Serena, 2 black girls from Compton who took on the circuit, grew with it, and then owned it. The arrival of the Williams sisters has been credited with ushering in a new era of power and athleticism on the women's professional tennis tour. For myself and little black girls across the world, they became the pair we looked up to, who showed us that it was possible to go into a sport that was predominantly white and become champions. Serena entered the world of professional tennis in 1995 at the age of 14 at the Bell Challenge in Quebec, where she used a wildcard entry to circumvent the age eligibility rules. Obviously, much younger and less experienced than her opponents, she didn't get past the first round, and in subsequent competitions, the same continued. However, in 1997 and 1998, she began to upset top 10 players in competitions, including Mary Pierce and Monica Seles. She made her debut in the main draw of a Grand Slam tournament at the Australian Open in 1998, where she defeated sixth seed Irina Sprilia in the first round before losing to her sister Venus in the second round in their first professional match as sisters. It was only between 1999 and 2001 that she became a top 10 player. After a 16-match winning streak, she entered the top 10 at number 9. And at the 2002 Wimbledon Championships, she won tennis' oldest championship for the first time in her life, defeating her sister Venus to win a Grand Slam singles without dropping a set for the first time in her career. This victory earned her the number 1 ranking for the first time, dethroning her sister and becoming only the third African-American woman to hold that ranking. Between 2004 and 2007, she racked up single titles as well as doubles titles with her sister Venus, but she also equally racked up the injury and at one point took an 8-month break from the circuit, during which her desire to continue playing tennis was even questioned. 2008 marked her return to number 1, and in 2009 she broke the record previously set by Justine Henin for the most prize money earned by a female tennis player in 1 year, with her earnings going over $6.5 million. Her trajectory continued as she finished 2012 as the year-end number 1 for the third time, becoming the oldest player in WTA history to do so. She was also named the 2013 ITF World Champion, the 4th time that she was given the World Champion's crown. 2014 and 2015 were another 2 years where she marked her dominance in the sport. After crashing out of Wimbledon, she rebounded by winning 19 out of her 20 matches, losing only to her sister Venus in the semi-finals of the Roger Cup. She went on to complete her second Serena Slam, winning all 4 Grand Slams in a row by winning the 2015 Wimbledon Championships, her 6th Wimbledon and 21st Grand Slam singles title overall. On the 28th of January 2017, she won the Australian Open for an open-era record 7th time, defeating her sister Venus once again. It was her 23rd Grand Slam singles title, surpassing Steffi Graf's open era of 22. It was the first time in the open era that 2 players aged 35 or older had competed in a final of a Grand Slam tournament. In April of the same year, she went on to reveal that she was 20 weeks pregnant and would miss the remainder of the season. On the 1st of September 2017, she gave birth to a daughter named Alexis Olympia Ohanian Jr. After fighting back from suffering 2 pulmonary embolisms as well as postnatal depression, she returned to the court in 2018, and despite a few false starts, getting knocked out early in the tournament, she returned to the top 10 in 2019. This year, she won her first singles title as a mother at the 2020 ASB Classic. A number of rivalries have been created by the media, obviously for their own benefit. It's always great to tell a story, as well as for the benefit of women's tennis worldwide. But none stands out as much as her rivalry with Maria Sharapova, who went on to even write about Serena in her autobiography. In reality, it's not much of a rivalry. Serena has beat Maria Sharapova 20 times out of the 22 matches they have played against each other. Off the court, she has endorsement deals with Gatorade, Delta Airlines, Aston Martin, Pepsi, Beats by Dre, even OPI products. She's currently the Chief Sporting Officer for British luxury automobile manufacturer Aston Martin. In 2019, she went on to launch the first collection of her sustainable clothing line, S by Serena, inspired by 19th streetwear. Her collection shows a range of body types and sizes. In 2009, she and her sister Venus became the first black women to hold any amount of ownership in an NFL franchise after becoming minority owners of the Miami Dolphins. Her net worth currently sits at $180 million. So what does she do with all this money? In an interview with a US publication, she was quoted saying that whenever she's feeling bad or down, her guilty pleasure purchase is, get this, property. She has earned her title, the greatest of all time. But we all hang on to find out whether she can get just one more Grand Slam title.
Serena Williams, after what Chris said, need I say more? The only criticism she's gotten is that she's got too many interests outside of tennis. So people say that if she had only focused on tennis and not have all these other projects happening, she would have caught up to that Grand Slam record of all time. But here's my thing though, I really think she can still do it. Maybe she's got one more in her. It's going to be difficult, but she could be able to do it. I mean, after all, 2020 has become more or less of a rest year. So we'll see if in 2021, when she picks up the racket again, if she can go after number 24 and match that all-time record. No doubt if anyone can do it, it certainly is Serena Williams. And we got to throw in some honorable mentions in there. I mean, we have to throw in the pioneer of the WTA Tour herself, Billie Jean King. There's also Monica Seles, as I mentioned earlier, who was the main rival to Steffi Graf. There was also Chris Evert, Margaret Court, who's got the all-time record for singles Grand Slams. There's also Venus Williams, Serena's sister, Justin Henin, and also that Swiss master. Before there was Roger Federer, there was Martina Hingis. No doubt the women's game has been stacked, and we wait to see who emerges as the best of all time when all is said and done. No doubt, I'm betting it's going to be Serena Williams. Alright, now coming up next is the latest in international sports news with Around the World in 60, and then we get our play of the day.
Around the World in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take you around the world in 60, courtesy of DSTV. We take off in New Zealand, where former All Blacks wing Nemil Nskada will look to resurrect his career with Super Rugby's Otago Highlanders after leaving French club Toulon. So Mil Nskada signed with the Highlanders on Wednesday after his injuries prevented him from making a single appearance for the top 14 side. The 29-year-old could feature in the New Zealand-based Super Rugby Aotearoa tournament, which starts on the 13th of June, as well as the 2021 Super Rugby season. Head over to England, where World Rugby has announced tries in rugby union can no longer be scored by grounding the ball against the post protector. The law change, which comes in with immediate effect, was approved by the Global Governing Bodies Council. World Rugby, explaining the amendment to Law 8, said that with defending players currently obliged to stay behind the goal line and the post protector shape and size increasing for welfare reasons, it was increasingly difficult for teams to legally defend the area. We touch down in the US, where tennis great Martina Navratilova believes Roger Federer and Serena Williams face a threat to their place in history due to the coronavirus pandemic. Federer is currently leading the men's all-time list on 20 Grand Slam singles titles, while Williams remains an agonizing one more major away from matching Margaret Court's women's record on 24. Navratilova, who won 59 Grand Slam titles in total, believes the sports shutdown is bound to have an adverse effect on those building their legacies as they prepare to exit the sport. We're packed and loaded today, as there's a whole host of brilliant African Olympic memories, a look at the current two most dominant personalities in the world of motorsport, the chilling and heartbreaking story of the Hillsborough tragedy, then getting to know King Arnie and his army. Come and see what the Viewer's Choice and Primetime segments have in store for you on our premium channel, Supersport 1.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZFM. We are Z-Team on ZFM Sport.
Z.
You're tuned into ZFM Stereo, my station, your station. This is the lockdown edition of ZFM Sport. Let's now get the latest football news in the beautiful game.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZFM Sport.
All talk out of England at the moment is around Project Restart, with the big question being, when will the Premier League return? Well, we've got an update, and the update is that tackling will be banned. pitches disinfected and players restricted to groups of 5 when the Premier League starts at first phase of team training. Official protocols sent to players and managers revealed that social distancing must be strictly observed. Corner flags, balls, cones, goalposts and even playing surfaces will be disinfected after each session. League bosses hope training can begin on Monday, restricted to just 75 minutes. Now, ongoing surveillance measures included in further guidance include twice weekly testing and a daily pre-training questionnaire and temperature check. This is just to make sure that the players are feeling okay, that none of them are bringing any infection, especially the coronavirus, into the training camps. Under a section titled Health Screening, players are also told a central register of COVID-19 test results, subject to their consent, and Professional Footballers Association agreement will need to be maintained. Again, this is not just about the individual player. This is not about the individual club, but it's also about all the players that are playing in England's top flight, to make sure that their records are kept and maintained, so that whenever you're going to play another team, for instance, they are reassured and they know for certain that the players that they're coming up against are all free from the coronavirus. They are also informed that although COVID-19 will lead to minor illness in the majority, there are additional aspects of this infection that must be considered prior to players resuming high intensity or high volume exercise. Specific assessments that may be considered for players who contract the disease, including tests for any heart or lung complications, because we have seen, of course, over the last 3 or so months, or even half a year since the disease started in China, a lot of the medical reports have been talking about how it affects those people with adverse health conditions. So if you are someone who's got lung complications, you've got heart complications, you've had an operation in recent years or recent times, recent months, or you had your immune system compromised in any way, if you have any underlying illness, you're vulnerable to the coronavirus, and they're just going to be making sure that that does not apply to any of the players that are asked to turn out when football does return in England. Recommended control measures also include meticulous personal hygiene and use of PPE, that's of course a personal protective equipment, no congregation in communal areas, including but not limited to medical rooms and gym areas. Under further stringent measures, players are told they cannot share transport with anyone to and from the training ground, and vehicle interiors should be cleaned regularly. Team vehicles and public transport should not be used. Well, this one here for the multi-millionaires of the English Premier League should be no problem. We always see the images of them rolling up in their Rolls Royce, in their Range Rovers, in their Mercedes Benz, in their Lamborghinis and Ferraris. So I doubt it's going to be a problem, them showing up to training grounds, one player in one car. They have so many, they're so wealthy, they're paid something that they're overpaid, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. So what the gist of the story, to be honest, is that they are making sure that they tick almost every box that they can to make sure that player safety and player health is upheld, especially as they try and get back to training and restarting the game in England. And that is the sort of care and due diligence that should be applied even here in Zimbabwe when we eventually get back to doing things, or trying to do things, the normal way.
Z. The league that makes football oh so beautiful, where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day, where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
Frankie de Jong can be pleased with his first season at Barcelona and has the potential to successfully replace club legend Sergio Busquets, according to former Dutch international Ronald de Boer. Netherlands international de Jong has faced criticism from some sections since joining Barca from Ajax in a reported €75 million transfer last year. De Boer believes his compatriot has adapted well to life at Camp Nou. However, with former teammate Matthias de Ligt, early struggles at Juventus being held up in comparison. Now, De Jong has 2 goals in 37 games this term, but De Boer insists it is better comparing him to Busquets, who is regarded as arguably the finest holding midfielder of his generation, and that he certainly is. And I agree with Ronald de Boer, because Frankie de Jong in truth has settled into the Barcelona system almost seamlessly, and that has seen him get lots of starts in the Barcelona starting lineup, and deservedly so. And you can sort of see where Barcelona wants to go with it. Where I sort of disagree with Ronald de Boer is the fact that let's compare him to Sergio Busquets. I think that Frankie de Jong is lined up to be a Iniesta, Xavi type player who is going to play a lot further up, but still be behind the front three, the front players, and provide. And that's exactly what he's been doing. So when we look at his goals ratio this term, I think it's unfair for us to look at him being a goal scorer. He's not that. He is a provider. He is one who assists the rest so that they are able to play and are able to score goals. Now, looking at what Ronald de Boer said verbatim, he had this to say: people said he didn't reach the level he reached with Ajax last season in Europe or with the national team. But not everyone can say that. They play so many minutes with such a strong team. So I think he's doing well. You see how another young player like De Ligt had a harder time, while everyone thought he would play regularly from the start. He's doing very well when you consider that this is his first season at Barcelona, and he certainly looks like he was there from the start. So Frankie de Jong doing well, and I foresee him being at Barcelona a very long time and being one of the legends of the game, following in the footsteps, hopefully, of the likes of Ronald Koeman, your Frank Rijkaards of this world, who did very well at Barcelona and became club legends. Whether he'll go on to coach like those two did remains to be seen. There's lots of football to be played before we have to make that consideration, but certainly a player I rate. Frankie de Jong of Barcelona.
Z. Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland insists he remains focused on the club amid rumors linking him with Real Madrid. Haaland has enjoyed a breakout 2019-2020 campaign, scoring 40 goals in 33 appearances before the COVID-19 enforced break. Despite only joining Dortmund in January, speculation continues to dominate his future, but the 19-year-old is keen to block everything out. According to Bild, Dortmund want to keep Haaland for at least one full season, but clubs can trigger his €75 million release clause from July 2021 onwards. Dortmund are currently second favorites in the Bundesliga, betting to win the title, and their hopes are likely to rest on the shoulders of Haaland. The 19-year-old has made a big impression this season, scoring 40 goals in 33 appearances for Red Bull Salzburg and Dortmund. His performances have already drawn favorable comparisons with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and it is not difficult to see why. Although he only joined Dortmund in January, Haaland continues to be linked with Real Madrid and Manchester United, and he is undoubtedly a superstar in the making. Yes, Erling Haaland, Red Bull Salzburg superstar. He joins Dortmund in January. He continues from where he left off from Salzburg, and he is a damn scoring machine. It is a big boy for a 19-year-old. He's got the skill, he's got the stamina, he has got the physique. I think that he is definitely, obviously, one for the future, one to look out for. Being linked to Real Madrid, I am not surprised, because when you see a young man scoring goals like that, he can only be admired by the big guns. I don't know about Manchester United. Manchester United, I think they missed the boat. They had the perfect opportunity to sign this boy from Red Bull Salzburg. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sent an email, talked to his bosses at Manchester United about this boy, but they slept on the job. And they let him slip away, and he joined Borussia Dortmund, and now Manchester United, can they afford him? I don't know. They also want Jordan Sancho. So it's most likely that they will sign Jordan Sancho, but they won't sign the pair. But if they do, it's going to be the coup of the century. Imagine Manchester United signing Jordan Sancho and Erling Haaland at the same time. I'm not so sure, but when you're competing with Real Madrid, you know that you have to fork out some money. But if they have to keep him until next season, they might just lose him for 75 million euros, and I don't think at this moment, at this rate, with the way he is playing, I don't think he is worth a meager 75 million euros. So they might just want to sell him on now when he is actually very expensive. They can't wait for clubs to actually activate the release clause, which is actually very little when you look at the potential, what he is doing now, and already the potential that he has got as a 19-year-old. He is a superstar. He is going to break the record books, as far as transfer fees are concerned. But unfortunately, COVID-19 era, he might not fetch as much money as he could have if it was COVID clear. But anyway, when you look at football, he is one for the future. He is one to look out for. So there is going to be a battle on our hands, Manchester United and Real Madrid. Don't discount Barcelona in the deal. Don't discount Paris Saint-Germain as well. They might just join in when the transfer fever kicks in, and we wait to see what is going to happen. But for now, all we know is that Jordan Sancho and Erling Haaland are the hottest youngsters in world football, and they play for the same club. And you look at Borussia Dortmund, they actually in a very, very good state, good position to actually milk this opportunity. They actually stand to milk this transfer season, although it can be curtailed by the COVID-19 pandemic. But when you look at the situation, you want to think that Borussia Dortmund can look at Jordan Sancho, can look at Erling Haaland, and they think that they can actually make so much money from these youngsters. But let's wait and see. Real Madrid, for me, is the best bet. I'm a Real Madrid fan. I'm a Manchester United fan. It breaks my heart to see those two clubs fighting for one player, but I think that he is better off at Real Madrid. Real Madrid are desperate to replace the aging superstars that they've got at the moment, and Erling Haaland fits the bill for Real Madrid. So I would rather see him go to Real Madrid so that they can compete against Barcelona, who look like they are also freshening up their squad. So Erling Haaland for Real Madrid, I'm all for it. Go there, boy. And I think that the deal is going to happen this season because Real Madrid, they desperately need a big signing.
Z. The Nerazzurri, the Black and Blues, Inter Milan.
It's Romelu Lukaku, and it was never in doubt. He's a beast at the best of times, but this season he has become a monster.
The Giallorossi, the Yellow and Reds, AS Roma.
Belotti has a go! Tremendous hits! That's what he's capable of!
La Viola, the Purple Ones, Fiorentina.
Brock Ribery seals a glorious win for Fiorentina with a sumptuous goal at San Siro.
The Bianconeri, the Black and Whites, Juventus.
Ronaldo seals yet another 3 points for Juventus.
Tough yet colourful. The best of Italian football on Z.
To Serie A we go, and Edin Dzeko poured cold water on a potential move to Everton last season because of the pouring rain of Merseyside. It has been revealed Dzeko previously played in England for Manchester City before moving to Italy with Roma, and it appears he has no desire to return to the colder British climate anytime soon. Discussing why some players prefer moves to La Liga or Serie A than the Premier League, BT Sports commentator Ian Dark explained to ESPN FC's Extra Time that weather does play a part. Now, Dzeko was heavily linked with a move to the blue half of Merseyside last season as they continued to search for the permanent successor to Romelu Lukaku. Richarlison came in from Watford, and Moise Kean has since arrived from Juventus, but there's still a 20-goal a season hole in their front line that could well have been solved by the Bosnians' arrival. Instead, it appears Dzeko will not be rushing to board a flight to Liverpool's John Lennon Airport when the current coronavirus pandemic comes to an end. And that's a shame because I rate this player, and if I was managing a club like Liverpool Football Club, he's the type of guy that I would have in my squad as a squad player. I rate him highly. He was a good player at Manchester City. I think he's done well at Roma as well, and certainly Everton will be disappointed with his decision that he doesn't want to come and play in England in the Premier League, because I believe that he would be a perfect fit, and he's a great player that I know would do well and would score goals for any team in the Premier League.
Z. The beating drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
Kaizer Chiefs chairman Kaizer Motaung has opened up on the reason local coaches struggle to achieve similar success at the club to foreign coaches. Chiefs, perhaps more so the supporters and the management, are known to favour European coaches over local ones, with Steve Komphela having been the last local coach to have proven unsuccessful in bringing silverware and appeasing the masses in the stands. Motaung believes this is down to the acquisition of knowledge, using record 4-time league-winning Joe Pitso Mosimane and Gavin Hunt as yardsticks for local coaches to try and at least measure up to. Now, when it comes to coaches and sport in general, it's about results. In terms of sentiment, it would be great to have a South African coach for some of the biggest teams, sports teams in South Africa, such as Kaizer Chiefs, but the team needs to be successful, and unfortunately for South African coaches, they aren't always as successful as foreign coaches, and like Kaizer Motaung points out, this comes to an issue of exposure and knowledge. Take Steve Komphela for an example. He was the first South African to have held the reins at Naturena for longer than a year, and during his 3-year spell, he reached 2 cup finals without returning the cups. So for fans, he becomes the target of the criticism, and once fans get riled up and start talking, no matter what he then goes on to do, even if he needs time, even if there's a plan in place, it's never good enough. What fans want to see to a certain extent is players playing well, a good game to watch, and those trophies. The trophies are incredibly important for fans. A foreign coach will then come in like German Ernst Middendorp, who's there at the moment, and he's potentially 8 games from lifting the ABSA Premiership title. And once he achieves that, he becomes the standard of what the fans expect from the club and what they want, what they get used to. Kaizer Chiefs actually has a history of getting these foreign coaches and them being successful with the club. You have Stuart Baxter, Vladimir Vermezovic, Musin Ertugal, Ted Dumitru, Paul Dolazar, and all of these people enjoyed success with the club, and these are your foreign coaches. Until we get to a place where your national leagues, for example, and your governing bodies and organizations such as CAF get a lot more serious about the training of African coaches and the level at which they are exposed, then we can continue to see this trend, not just for Kaizer Chiefs, but on the continent as a whole.
Z.
Like Barry says, time is never a friend on the show, and unfortunately we've got to go. But we'll be back tomorrow, so don't miss it. It's a show that's short, sharp, and sweet, and takes you closer to your sports stars. ZiFM Sport on a Thursday, a throwback Thursday. So until then, take care of yourself and stay safe.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.